Welcome, everybody, to the Making Awesome podcast. This is episode 230, where going to be talking all about this new Bambu leak. So for those that don't know, those that haven't been following, a unnamed bamboo printer, whether we want to call it, I wouldn't even call it the H1 because H stands for hybrid, but a P2, X2, whatever, it certainly appears to be more of the bamboo that we as the community wanted and less of the bamboo that we got.
I think this leak and what it's showing is what everybody was asking for before the H2D got announced. Like, this was what everyone wanted. Yeah, it's really interesting. Also, there's only one photo leak. It's probably the lowest level of leak we've ever seen from a bamboo, leak in the first place. Normally, it's always like got a couple of follow-ups. This is just one photo with one date code, which is quite recent, and that is it. There is no more talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to get into the fact of whether or not this is an actual leak or if this is like an Apple leak, which is it's marketing, but it's a leak, right? You know, and oh, we leaked it. No, you deliberately left a cell phone out in the open in places to get photos of. Like, is this good marketing or is this legitimately a leak? If you are just joining us for the first time, my name's Grant. We have Jacob here from Construct 3D. I own 3D Musketeers. We are here to talk about things that happen in the industry. Jacob, can we toss the photo up and let's kind of discuss what we can get out of it real quick. We can see 340 millimeter in the Z. And that's a big deal. That would make it the biggest bamboo in the Z-axis, period.
Absolutely.
Well, to date, I guess we should say. Single nozzle looks like the A1 style. And so it also appears the bamboo is moving over to the kind of A-series style of nozzles, which I like. Their whole replacement system for it is nothing short of genius. Yeah, super cool system. It uses a rail turned on the side, very similar to the H2D.
But no, what I noticed was in the top left of the printer, where you would normally have a window behind like the cooling duct, there's nothing. There's no sign of that like slightly darkened acrylic or like polycarbonate or whatever that material is. It's just white, which implies two things. It's either no window or no panel. And I'm not sure which is which.
But does it need it, right?
I really don't
know.
So.
Nah, honestly, look, I'm all for machines having more ability for light to enter them, right? I would much rather have a lower manufacturing cost than have another window. It makes sense on the H2D because of its necessity to be able to see all the sides for the laser. Like, I have an X1 Carbon. It only has a window on the front. It's smoked glass, like it's tinted glass. I don't think that anything beyond that is necessary. And quite frankly, unless it's the right thickness of glass, it's going to create more issues than it solves because it's going to just radiate heat out.
I don't care if there's no window. I care if there is a side because bigger prints will still warp. And while the front, everyone's just going to look through the front anyway. Like, you don't need to look from the side.
No.
While it is nice, I'm assuming they're still keeping the clear lid so you can look from top down. Because I'm not seeing any reason they wouldn't have that. Like, not having a lid would be a weird decision, and making a different lid when they've already got production, that also wouldn't make sense. Now, for the side panels, it can make sense because what they're probably doing is they're probably molding the full panel and then cutting the side out instead of doing two processes in one. So they're saving a process.
Right.
I hope, though, it's not the wall, because if that's the wall, I would be a bit disappointed in big format printer, no side panels. Because as you've actually experienced, I don't really think you might remember this, but do you remember back at Smurf where you saw the Construct 2, where it was printing that big vase? And then you saw there was just like these weird, like almost like layer shifts.
Yeah, it was warping.
That was literally when somebody would open the door. And this was in PLA, and it would shrink by a noticeable like 0.4 of a millimeter, like an entire layer width. It would shrink in, and then the moment the door closes, it would shrink out. And it was mad to see that. But even in PLA, the enclosure really is important for dimensional stability. So I really
It's
hope that
incredibly
is a side panel. I really hope that is not the wall, because that would be almost a bit of a gut punch for a machine as well built as this.
No, I would feel as though there's going to be a wall here. To me, this is the next X series or the next P series. It would make sense for this to be closer to the next X series, right? So the successor to the X1 carbon, to make this like the X2 or the P2. So Anna, who's in our Discord, went through and checked Bambu third-party software to see what machines it's supporting. And there are machines that are named in there that we haven't seen yet from Bambu. So they're just kind of future machines. So it is possible that we're seeing one of those machines. Is it likely? But yeah, I look at this machine and say, you know what? This might be the Bambu that I would be excited over, right?
This is the machine I thought they would release before the H2D.
Yeah, the machine that all of us wanted, which was basically just an X1 carbon, but bigger.
Like, this is the hype machine, what all the hype was built for before it was destroyed by the H2D. This is what we were asking for, was the Bambu Lab quality on a bigger enclosed machine, so you can just print bigger. And then it's got all of the benefits of what we now know as the H2D, of the new material changer, the AMS2. I hate their naming scheme for that AMS. It's so confusing now.
Look, it could be the AMS, like, Plus or Pro. They do have the HT. Like they could go the Apple side of things. At least they're calling the second iteration of it the AMS2. Although if we want to be really specific, it's really the AMS3, with the AMS Lite being the AMS2, but I'm not going to go deep into this. It is nice that they're backwards compatible. I like that.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see, can you use your AMS1 on whatever new machine this is?
I think it would grandfather in the same decision factors as the H2D. So I do believe you would be able to, but we don't know until it finally hits the shelves.
I guess the thing that upsets me the most is, like, I really like the engineering that Bambu puts into their machines, but I'm really not okay with the level of control that they require. Those of you on the A series and the P series that don't have them online, don't put them back online at this point. The software updates for them that lock them down to using only Bambu Studio unless you use Bambu Connect, if you want them to still utilize the cloud features. That has rolled out. Yep. So Bambu has locked down all of their machines. Literally, the first viral style video that we ever made was me yelling at Cricket for doing this exact thing, where they took a ownership of a machine and they converted it to a lease. And lo and behold, I don't like that. That upsets the hell out of me. I'm concerned that this new machine, well, I mean, it should be, right? Like on par with what they're doing. It should be fully under their control.
I can't even blame them for going down that route, because that is the inevitability of consumer grade hardware. You lock it down, you close it down. And
I don't have to like it to understand.
Yeah,
right.
Like, our gut feeling is always going to be what we knew best, which is the open source mentality, what built this entire industry, those sort of things.
It's going away.
Yeah, it is entirely disappearing. And that is not it's not something that we like, because it's not what we were used to. We were used to the community of people getting a disastrously bad machine, and then that disastrously bad machine gets modded into oblivion, but that's why it was fun. Now we're getting into the consumer realm where, like an Epson printer, you can't mod an Epson printer. You just buy one, you use it, and you throw it in the bin when you're done with it.
You're lucky if you can put third-party ink, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, Epson was the king of using third-party ink, because you could get the Eco Tank and put third-party ink into it. But they've even recently started to lock that down, which has created this whole atmosphere of people that are like, wait a minute, you were the good guys.
If we flip the script, let's say Creality tomorrow comes out with a Bambu quality machine, like everything's polished, it's all locked down, it is what we've come to expect from Bambu Lab, but it's a Creality machine. There'll be so much outrage that Creality have changed from what they used to be to what they are now, it would almost destroy the company, whereas Bambu have come along, akin to Apple, with their immediate, no, this is a walled garden, don't buy if you don't want it. And because of that, nobody complains. But no, we know the height of this machine is taller. Now,
340.
that could be,
Yeah,
it's 340. It could be because like the movement mechanism took up that extra 20 mil of height. I'm not entirely certain. But
well, they only move one nozzle. The other one is stationary.
But that 20 mil extra is quite a lot of extra space when you're considering it's in the Z. Like Z can be the biggest limit to a lot of prints. So having 20 mil extra is brilliant. I'm assuming because we had this issue with the H2D where you couldn't reach both sides of the print volume with both nozzles. You won't get that in this machine. The nozzle should be able to reach all the way across.
Yeah, I bet it's going to have the same XY as the H2D for nothing else other than to not have a different bed, a different SKU in the store. And this is the trick when you look at long-term manufacturing, is that the less SKUs that you have, the better. Now, the Vector 3D teardown of the H2D tells me, oh my God, they're going to need so many spare parts, right? And as the business owner, if I had H2Ds, homie, I'd be having so many spare parts, because while there is a ton of engineering, if any one of those tiny little parts fail, you're in a bad spot, like a bad spot, because some of it can be tough to get.
Is a work of art.
It is. It is an absolute work of art.
You aren't the artist. So if you have to come and then repair it, you now need to know how to paint to the same level as the artist who designed it. And that will be a challenge for most companies. So having an easier tool head to work on is quite important. And having those spares, like you never want to go and start doing a painting and you don't have the art supplies, especially on something this complicated. Because the moment you start taking bolts off and you put them somewhere and you have to put your tool down, you've forgotten half the steps because it's not straightforward. That is why you should always have spares for equipment like this. But this new machine looks simpler because it is, from the looks of it, it's an A1 print head with some modifications.
Yeah, it's like you took an A1 and an H2D and said, babies. It would be nice if this was going to be the successor to the X1. But at least from the photo, I don't see any LiDAR system on it. And I think a lot of people that own X1s are split on whether or not they like the LiDAR. I know users that say, I don't care. I'm just going to turn it off. You know, I'll set the PA values and the extrusion values myself. It's not worth a bad reading that could ruin a print. So I don't know if Bambu is moving away from that.
So I don't know what this bit is. So you'll probably remember because I'm not massively familiar. But if this bit here, like this bit right here,
I don't know what it is either.
Is that a downwards facing camera?
It probably is. The H2D has a downward facing camera. The X1 Carbon has a couple, right? At least one downward facing camera. It would make sense. It's really, really good for spaghetti detection, and it's really good for blob detection. So downward facing cameras are very, very good for that kind of thing. I still, like, there's a part of me that's like, Bambu, I really want you to give us access to these cameras, because how cool of a time lapse would it be if you could time lapse it from the downward facing camera? That'd be so much cooler. When we got access to the log files in the X1 Carbon, just seeing the output from those cameras, I'm like, yeah.
That was really neat to see.
It was cool.
That's hidden technology that makes you tingle because it's cool. I love seeing that sort of stuff.
We have Zoe Nerdhouse, someone that I don't think I've seen in the chat before. So grain of salt, what I'm about to read. They're saying it's the X2 Pro. It's 360 by 335 by 340. It has a nozzle camera and it is accessible. A chamber camera and solid aluminum side panels. They have seen it in person.
Oh, okay. Interesting. The X2 Pro. Obviously, let's take this with a grain of salt. We've not validated any of this, but that is a big build volume on a very nice quality machine.
360 by 335. Is that the same build size as the H2D?
I think it's slightly big. I thought the H2D was small, like 320.
I think it's the same build plate, right?
Oh, no, it is bigger.
But is it the same build plate? What's the build plate size on the H2D?
I don't know. So it's saying the
H2D is 325, but an extra 5 millimeters on each side is really no big deal.
So the H2D's official specs, and this includes they can't reach both sides at the same time, is 350, 320, 325. So this is 10 mil bigger in the X and 15 mil deeper in the Y. And obviously almost 20 mil taller in the Z. So it is a considerably larger volume.
I think it's going to be the same build plate. I mean, it would
make
not
sense.
it would not make sense to have a different build plate there. It really wouldn't. So it would not make sense at all. I don't know if I guess you can't call it the carbon anymore because it's not using a carbon rail, which I'm glad Bambu has realized that while that was an innovative thing, it doesn't make sense that the steel rails are just fine. And in terms of a longevity thing, they are much better.
They last so much longer.
Yeah, well, and they're much easier for people to service, right? Servicing to me is part of the deal too. And as a company, they're realizing that they have to have something that's more user serviceable or they just get pissed off. Apparently it has 0.6 millimeter nozzle by default, which again, for a machine that size, I totally understand it. Hilariously, like my XL came with 0.6 millimeter by default. I've changed out 3 of the 5 heads for 0.4s.
Really? What was the reasoning behind it?
I do find that we can get better quality on it. But the main reason is so we can do finer detail work that you can't normally do on a 0.6 with the 0.4s. But let's play devil's advocate here for a second, right? The H2D already has high flow, okay? They are just A1 nozzles, but they're high flow. This is very clearly an A1 style hot end. It has to be, right?
It has to be. It would be such a
it would be stupid if it wasn't.
Short-sighted decision if they didn't.
Yeah, it would be
so poor. And when they have the technology, they can use it and really drive home the fact that they are the top dogs in what they do. And that is something that it would be stupid not to do because it would be not disingenuous. It's not that bad. It's just short-sighted in terms of where they could stand as it just works out the box company with a high flow nozzle. Like if you want to be the top of the leaderboards with I can print this thing in X amount of time, you need high flow. And they want that. They've always wanted that. It's why their first thing they showed was a benchy printing in, what was it, like 12 minutes? Was it?
Something like that, yeah.
18. Like either way, their first thing that they showed people was speed benchy. Because they wanted to be the top of the leaderboard and we print faster. Now that they're going 0.6 and they have the ability to high flow, they could print like a kilo box in 4 or 5 hours instead of an entire day. That is a sales point.
Oh, it's a huge sales point, especially for businesses. Like the print farmers out there would look at this and say, this is everything that I wanted in an X1. More specifically, everything that I wanted in a P-series machine, and I'm getting more value out of it. What will be interesting is going to be the price point, right? Like the H2D surprised all of us by being incredibly affordable. It's only like, what, $600 or $700 more than the X1 carbon? Where the hell is this going to sit? Or is this going... idea. This could just straight out replace the X1 carbon, and now the X1 is no longer being sold, right?
I think this has to be more expensive because it's bigger. Like, volume is a valuable commodity.
We said this about the H2D. But we also
were, like, off by double for the H2D.
Yeah. But their ability to manufacture has only gotten better, right? And now that they're locking things down and the community is, maybe they're not okay with it, but they're okay with it, right? Like they're accepting of these lockdowns as just the cost of doing business. That kind of stuff is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Right. So could the new lockdown side of it allow them to lower the price point because there's a long-term play of continuing to lock down? And that's the concern that I have is like, people said Bambu would never do what they just did. They're continuing to tell me, oh, they'll never lock you down to only use their materials. Guys, that is literally the next process of this. The next process of this.
They don't even need to do that because most of the people who buy a Bambu Lab will buy Bambu filament as it is.
Yes, and there's a lot of reason to do it, right? The RFID does make it so much easier. I'm not going to debate the fact that they've made 3D printing easier, but I worry that they're also limiting your choices, which some of the more power users are not going to like. And when we look at what this new X2 Pro could be, that starts to worry me that people are going to dump their X1 carbons that had a lot more openness to them because they want the larger machine and potentially regret that decision. I have to agree that when you make it easy, people don't exactly, they don't care. They're willing to give up some of their rights and some of their, I guess, their control in exchange for things working well. Right. But as
it's why people bought Prusas was so popular, because it just worked. It was the golden boy printer, because you turn it on and you got a print. I would still argue open source was really important, but that's not why people bought them, because the entire industry was pretty much open source.
Yeah,
people bought them because it was reliable quality with good after sales.
Right.
And you turn the machine on, it works.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, you've got the after-sale service line. And it's the same thing, but with Bambu Lab. And Bambu Lab have gone to another level where they've closed it down, and they've done what Prusa did, which what made them popular was it works. And anyone, if you ask anyone, would you rather have a machine that you control 100% but it doesn't work, or a machine that you control maybe 20% and it works, they're going to choose the one that works every time. Because if they say otherwise, they're lying. Nobody buys a machine that doesn't work because you're not buying anything worthwhile.
Is that too soon?
Don't think there's any hype for this. Like one of the things I wanted to get across is this is a really cool machine and this is something to be hyped about.
Yeah.
But I don't feel any personal hype for this. And that's entirely because all the hype we had for bigger, better machine went to the H2D and then it burnt it. And now there hasn't been that ramp of what you want. And now we're looking at a comparison, because comparison is the thief of joy, where previously, if this machine came out first, it was the X1 versus what we now know as the X2. You'd be like, oh, wow, this is amazing. This is so good. Now, instead, I'm comparing the X2 to the H2. And I'm looking at them and I'm going, well, the X2 is actually one nozzle less. And it doesn't look like it's got a window, and it might have lost like the multi-material features, and it just feels kind of dampened on a machine that if I was doing it before then, I would have been raving its glories for ages, just because I'm comparing it against the wrong machine.
So it would make sense to me that Bambu is going to cut the X1, right? It would make sense to me that they're going to cut the X1 carbon. It's going to go away from their system. If this is the case, they've already stopped production, right? They've already stopped production, and then they're just going to maintain a certain level of parts. They'll maintain, whatever inventory of machines they have left, and then this will just take over. If it doesn't take over, its price point's going to be really weird, and it's not going to make sense. Right? Because it can't be more than an H2D. HD is $2,000. Next one, carbon. As an American, I can't look at the prices because I don't know if they're tariffed or not right now. And I think they're back down in price. Honestly, it changes by the day these days. But I would assume this machine's probably going to be in like the $1,400 to $1,500 range US. Pre-order, if they do a Kickstarter, which I doubt they will, but if they do a Kickstarter, probably at $1,000, but maybe $1,400-1,500. You're saying, okay, so it's £1,000. So
it's £1,000,
like 1,400 US.
This might be without tariff or not. I'm not entirely certain. Saying $1,250 is the base. No AMS, just the base machine. X1 carbon 1.25.
Are we assuming this unit is bigger than the X1? Based on the leaked photo, we know that it is. Its Z-axis is 340. Now, it could be 256 by 256 by 340, but we did have someone in here that said they have seen this machine in person. Now, again, grain of salt, I don't know who this person is. I can't corroborate any of the evidence. If they wanted to email me further evidence, they're welcome to.
But from that leak and that person saying it,
they're saying
it appears the machine volume is about 20% bigger than the H2D. So I did the math on it. It's about 20%.
The claim is 360 by 335 by 340. That is the current claim. That would put it roughly the same dimensions as an H2D, the same build plate as an H2D, just a single head. How many people will get pissed off they bought the H2D for a larger Bambu if this comes out, is larger, is cheaper? I think a lot of them have enjoyed the multi-nozzle system, right? The dual nozzle. I don't think a lot of people are really messing around with the laser too much. I'm sure there are some people. I'd be curious to know the numbers on those laser sales for the H2D. Or more specifically, since I'm sure they're able to figure it out, how many hours the lasers have been used on H2Ds. Will they be upset and say, oh, had I known about this, I would have waited?
I think it's going to be contentious. There's definitely going to be some ruffled feathers. And it all depends on what the price point is. Because the cheaper the price point, the more feathers are going to be ruffled.
Yes.
And that is where it's going to be, let's call it a spicy moment for Bambu Lab, where they might have lowered the price to be a good product, but accidentally pissed off their current customers. So again, like in British pounds, the H2D is 1,600 and the X1 is 1,000. So there's only a £600 difference, which is not that much when you consider the amount you're gaining to go to H2. If they just replace the X1 with the X2, it's insultingly cheap in a way that I would buy it instantly at that stage because of the price.
£1,250 would make sense, right?
Yeah.
Like $1,250 for the X2 Pro or whatever the heck we want to call it would make sense to me, which puts it at like 1,500 US, I think.
And that makes a lot more sense. Like, I do think this machine, because it's bigger, should be valued higher than the X1 series.
But will it replace the X1? Right? Will they stop production on the X1?
I would say it all depends on the flow rate of the nozzle. If they are coming standard with a high flow, I would have stopped production on the X1. If not, I would have kept production on the X1 because they do something different. Now, there's one unspoken benefit of making a higher flow machine. It's one of the reasons we will always give high flow, because the customers that come to us also come to us for filament. We don't make filament, we just resell it. And the faster you use filament, the faster they buy more. So having a high flow nozzle as your default is a very good thing to add in a base machine, because they're going to come back for more filament. And Bambu Lab sell their own, they make their own filament, which means if you have doubled your flow rate, they are consuming twice as much material per unit of time. They're going to buy more material from you.
Right.
And I'd say that is what will determine if they cancel or continue with the X1, is about the flow rate of the X2. Because if they, well, think of it, we're in a board meeting now. We're around the big wooden circular table. You're at one head, I'm at the other head. And then I come to you going, hey, we've got a bigger, faster, better machine that will double filament sales. It's slightly more expensive than our last machine, but it's better in every way from a finance point of view to a not. You're going to cancel the one that's not earning as much money. Just straight up, you're going to cancel that one. And I think that is going to be the decision factor. Is it's not the size, it's the speed.
If this is the X2 Pro, if they don't stop production of the X1, which they may not, I think this is going to land somewhere in the $1,500 range.
I think
just
you're right.
under the H2D. If they do stop production of the X1 Carbon, $1,250.
I think you're right on that. Like, it's close enough to the H2D that I could even like make an argument it will be priced the same as a H2D. You have a divergent path of single nozzle bigger, dual nozzle smaller, though I don't think they would do that. I think they would make it cheaper, because at the end of the day, people are going to see two nozzle versus one nozzle and they're going to go, oh, it's a cheaper version. Even though the real selling point is size, they're just going to see the head complexity and they're going to justify the quality of the machine based on that. I do think the 1,500 or like £1,250 mark, it's what I think they would go for. Personally, I would like to see them not stop the X1. I think smaller machines still have their place. Everyone needs, at the end of the day, like a bank of machines. And if those machines are twice the size, you can only fit half the amount in. So there's still that use case for let's have smaller machines. What is interesting is that this is possibly called the X2 Pro, meaning we might be seeing like a P2 or something coming out where it is no side panels. Well, like if we're following with what they've done previously with the X1 Carbon and then the P1P, this could be the same way where there's the X2 Pro with the side panels and everything's done, and then the X or the P2 where they're just like, yep, just pop the side panels off and you're done, and then lower that by another $200, and then you've capitalized on the large format market.
And all you're doing is you're reducing cost and you're reducing assembly time, right? So you're saving the two major things that add to the cost of a main product. Well, I mean, let's compare it to a single toolhead XL, right? Single toolhead XL is what, $1,500, $2,500? I don't know off the top of my head.
And that is already not an expensive machine in my eyes for the complexity of that machine.
Well, it's a single toolhead, right?
But the tool heads, in reality, they're not the expensive bit. It's the assembly, production, manufacturing, quality control. It's all of that adds up.
It's $2,000.
And the type of that is better. A single tool head XL is the type of product that Prusa probably knows they're not going to sell many of, because people are buying it for 2 tool heads. Or 3 tool heads.
I bet they do actually sell quite a few.
Really?
I bet they do. People just want a bigger Prusa, right?
That is also true.
They want to maintain the same ecosystem, but they have the opportunity to add 2, add 5. Right? That is the value of something like the XL, is you can get in bed with an XL for $2,000, $2,500, spend smaller amounts of money, but then upgrade it to be a 2 tool head or a 5 tool head or whatever you want it to be. Like, Prusa allows that. Now, are you going to spend more money than doing it all up front? Yes, obviously. You know, I love my XL. It has been a reliable workhorse in our factory. It is not fast, right? It has issues with cooling that I still think need to be resolved, and there are some community mods to do it. I'm wondering if Prusa's going to look at like kind of allowing or adopting those community mods. But otherwise, my XL is absolutely bulletproof. Yeah. I can literally click print. I don't even have to watch the first layer. I just walk away. And it has been an amazing machine for us. But it's nowhere near as fast as modern, I'm going to put air quotes around modern 3D printers. But when you compare a 4-color print on an X1 Carbon versus that same 4-color print on a Prusa XL, the Prusa XL wipes the floor with it. Mind you, it's double the price, but it will do it in like a quarter of the time.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the purging, the heating up, the cooling. You don't have any of that crap. You're just 15 seconds for a nozzle change and purge, and you're done. Right.
You know, I'm starting to think that with the aggressive price point of Bambu Lab, there's almost a market for people buying brand new Bambu Lab machines, ripping out the motherboards and rebuilding them on the same hardware.
That's where Big Tree Tech comes in with the Panda Cyborg.
Yeah.
So they're already doing that with the X1 Carbon. They will be releasing a fully, a full conversion kit that is new boards and everything. It's funny because, like, we look at like this leak. $10. $10 says this is deliberate. Because if you think that this leak isn't deliberate, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. This X2 Pro, whatever you want to call it, leak, it's deliberate. It's the same strategy that Apple does. It's the same damn strategy. But it is deliberate because things like this happen. Bambu is smart about this. If there's one thing that I think that Bambu has done that separates them from everybody else in this industry, is that they actually know how to market. We sit here and say, how can we do right into the people that are going to enter this industry? And like, part of me wants to get this newest Bambu, buy it, do videos on how to fix failures on it. And then, we could, but they're such one-trick pony videos, and that's why I prefer to do Print Fix Friday instead.
Yeah. Evergreen content, it was something that David Tobin taught me, because when we were doing the Kickstarter video, initially I just wanted it to be an advert for the Kickstarter, and they could plug the Kickstarter and really drive money to the Kickstarter, because that's what we needed. And he sat me down, and it was a really short conversation, but it was so poignant and it was so well put together. I understood it instantly, which is that video will be out of date in 30 days. If that, like, the moment the Kickstarter ends, you can't use that video anymore because it's out of date. It's too aimed at what that is. It's not aimed at just the machine. It's not aimed at what you can do with the machine. It's just sales. And the evergreen side is what we ended up doing. And David is 100% right. And I instantly let him because he actually knows what he's doing, which was evergreen content. Do a project with the printer to show this was made possible with this machine. It doesn't matter when you see that video, it's still true. Versus a Kickstarter video, which is timed. It's the same with those Bambu videos, is they're one and done. They aren't really evergreen. They are just, you showed a video of a bed level, that is it. They watch it once and it is done. There is no incentive at all to even go there unless there is a problem.
Our X1 Carbon 6-month review is more evergreen because it's me talking about my experience. And it's also like one of the only videos about Bambu that does not talk about it in a, perfect, shining light kind of thing that most people expect. I think that this leak presents a unique opportunity for us to make some guesses. When it is announced, we can come back and look at it and say, how close were we? We were very off on the H2D.
We were so off on the H2D.
So off.
I still stand by our initial statements. They could have done that.
They probably should have.
But holy shit, we were off.
Yeah, we were really
it was half the price we thought it was.
Yeah. And look, if that build volume's correct, the 360 by 335 by 340, woo,
it's huge.
That's a big mamma jamma. I mean, that's a big printer. And if it is like that, it has to be lower than an XL. If it's not lower than an XL, it's going to have problems. People like Karen, she was in here earlier. Damn it, it's Karen. I'd be curious if she would say, oh, I would rather have this X2 Pro with an AMS over an H2D. It's like, this is the kind of stuff that makes me curious. Are people that are buying the H2Ds more interested in a larger Bambu, or are they interested in the dual extruder side of it?
I do think the H2D has sucked up the larger Bambu crowd.
I think it has too.
This machine is really what they were asking for, because this was what they were asking for. They were asking for bigger Bambu, and the only bigger Bambu was the H2D. I legitimately think that.
I have to agree, because dude, if you standardized on the Bambu platform, the one thing that you're upset about after looking at other machines on the market, especially the SV08 and the SV08 Max, I want a bigger machine. I want a bigger machine. Like the K2 Plus, right? That's a 350 cube, I think, or something along that range that has an AMS of sorts. Like they just want a bigger machine, and the H2D solved that, but the X2 Pro might solve it better. And I would argue that whatever this new machine is, it will solve it better, because not only based on information that we cannot confirm, information from a commenter or a chat person that said that they had seen it in person and told us that it's 360 by 335 by 340. That is bigger than an H2D, but you're giving up the dual nozzles, which once you use multi-material, it's like, it's so hard to go back. But I think what we have to do is we have to step back and say, okay, all right, X2 Pro or SV08 with index.
Oh, come on.
See.
Come on.
This is a tough one.
Okay. I see it coming down to two things.
Let's go.
It's only two things. If you want reliability, you go Bambu Lab, because it's the closed ecosystem. You're just guaranteeing it will work. If you want anything else, index. You get so much more from index.
But it's funny.
It's the integration with Soval that I'm more concerned about, not the index side.
Yeah. So let me ignore the fact that I despise Bambu for their data policies and all of that. If I'm between an H2D and an index on an SV08, I have more faith in Bondtech than I do Soval, but Bondtech is solving most of the problems that the SV08 has, which is like, its bed leveling sucks, its hot end sucks. The bed can be a little bit iffy from time to time, but with the right sensors, that's not that big of a deal. Like, as a business, I see more value in more tool heads than I do. If we were limiting index to 2 and not 9, that can fit on the regular SV08, that's a much different story. Would I say as a business that I'd rather have the cheaper machine that I can just replace ad nauseum? Maybe. Would I say that I prefer the confidence that you get with Bambu? Maybe. But I agree with Luke, tools with an index would suck. Like, there's no reason. If you can fit 4 on a freaking V0, why would you not do at least 4 or 5?
Yeah.
It's
a hard decision.
It's such a hard decision, right?
It's
like,
such a hard decision. I don't think you can make a choice because it's so flip-flop. Bambu Lab have so many good things going for them and just some really sour bad bits.
Yeah.
Where even the good bits actually kind of make up for the bad bits. That's really where it started.
It's funny because your origin story is so similar to Bontex of the nobody made a good extruder, so we just decided to make the gears ourselves. You're like, nobody made a 3D printer that ticked all the boxes for me, so I decided to make one myself. Like, that's literally, I think it's some of the best origin stories that this industry gets because they're driven because of dedicated reasons. And unfortunately, that does mean that your prices will be higher. And we look at Bambu, maybe the X1 Carbon was for that. They claim it was. I don't know how much I believe it anymore, but I think all their future machines have been in the pursuit of money, in the pursuit of domination, in the pursuit of market totality, which, okay.
I wouldn't even class in my head Bambu Lab as a 3D printer company anymore. They're just a company. I just class them as a company that just so happens to work in the 3D printing sector.
Well, they have to have a
because
specific
their decisions aren't maker. They're not, I wanted to make a better this, or we needed to improve this. It does feel very, let's sell something to earn money, and they just so happen to pick 3D print. Go on.
Bambu's a data company that makes hardware.
There you go. It's exactly that.
And I will argue the fact that if they weren't, then why are they closing it down so much? You know, why would they be closing it down so much if they weren't a data company that is in the hardware business for 3D printing? Like, I
mean, I already mentally classed Bambu Lab as just a DJI offsuit. Like, even though that they are separate companies, it is a DJI.
That's what they are.
Like, branch company.
Yes.
They started with it. They brought it off. They probably share so many like communication lines, and the way that they do business is very similar. And it's because of that I just probably never mentally classified them as a 3D printer company.
You know, I'll be very interested if they cut the X1 for the X2.
I can't say it's short-sighted, but I do think it is on the chopping block. Like, the X1 series, or at least the carbon version of the X1 CC, it's useless. Like, there's no reason for carbon. It's just the complexity for the sake of complexity. I think it is in risk. Like, especially if the price of the X2 is so close to the X1, it does become a bit of a nothing burger.
What I'm curious about is people that have standardized their print farms on the X1 Carbon series, although I think a lot of them have probably moved over to the P series, but the X1 Carbon series, you know, do they, like, what do they do? Because, like, from a business standpoint, it is good to standardize on one machine. If you're going to upgrade, you upgrade all of them, right? So, like, in reality, if you standardize on a 256 build plate of an X1 Carbon or an X1E, I don't really care, P1S, P1P, whatever, how do you handle this new X2 Pro?
I don't know.
If they stop selling the X1 Carbon.
Well, thankfully, there's enough of, like, X1 compatible parts. Like, there's enough, like, clones out there to keep support going.
I'm not even worried about that.
The complexity is really, in my eyes, like the build volume difference, the nozzle difference. It's almost like going from an X series to an A series where suddenly it's all different.
Yeah, it's
and there's
now,
not a lot of compatibility between them.
Now you have to, like, invest in a new ecosystem. And I feel like people that run Bambu farms have also gone through the different Bambu machines. So like they have
Actually, I have noticed that. Like
'Cause, like, they're
anyone who
all-
has like an X1 series print farm also seems to at the same time have a P1 series print farm.
or an A series print farm because they're the same damn build plates. Even see the thing with the X1 and the P1 is that they use the same hot ends. The electronics are different. So they have different connectors, but
Yeah.
the hot ends are interchangeable between them. The A series and the H2D are kind of interchangeable, but not really. I'll be curious to see if these end up replacing X1s. I mean, I think it should. Like, ultimately, if this is everything that an X or P series is, and it's only a couple $100 more than an X1, then there is, outside of wanting X1 Plus, right? There is basically no reason to get the X1 carbon anymore. And it's funny, like, Lawson Tech's right, the X1 is pretty old, but it is still considered the de facto standard of what you compare 3D printers to. It used to be the Prusa Mark III, and now it's the X1 carbon. Like, how does X machine stand up against the X1 carbon? Like, how does the Centauri carbon, couldn't have gone with a different name, Elegoo. How does Centauri carbon handle the X1 carbon? You know, would I rather have, 3 Centauri carbons or 1 X1 carbon? That's the answers. There's a lot going on, man. There really is. I'm just not certain. I'm not certain where they're going to be. Like, I'm second guessing everything because of how wrong we were with the H2D. Yeah. Like, I'm second guessing all these pricings.
We were so off base.
Oh my God, we were so off base.
I've only ever been off base so badly once before. And that was when I was literally talking to a military contractor about the advancement of AI and how long it will take to get to the level they need. And literally within a week of me telling them that chatbots aren't going to be good enough for like 2 to 3 more years, GPT-3 launched within a week. I'm like, well, just show me up. Which is really funny because my background was in AI. So I should have known better. But I think that did take the market by storm. And that was the other time I've been off by so much. I feel the same with it now, though. I feel the warning symbol of you have no idea where this market will go in the next month. It could be absorbed by all of the people really nicely. Like the X2 can come out there, they could praise it for days, or it could come out and they hate it because it's so close to the X1, or the price is slightly too cheap and it pisses people off, or it's too expensive and it pisses people off. Like, I don't know which way this is going to go, and that does kind of scare me.
I'm curious if it's going to set a new standard or if it's just going to build upon it, right? Like, that's the big thing for me is this going to change 3D printing again, or is this just we put the brand new, Pilot Sport Cup 2s on the car and now we can just do better cornering? Yeah, like, dude, what if they launch this like more affordable than the X1 carbon?
Every bone in my body's telling me it has to be more expensive.
But every bone in our body was telling us that the
this
H2D...
is Bambu Lab.
Yeah, like, I think that the H2D is more affordable than the X1E.
Well, actually, no, now you say it. Oh my God, Grant, shut up. Stop ruining my mind. Okay, they're reusing, from the looks of it, an A1 series hot end with an A1 series thing that it's an A1 series cross member, and it's mostly the frame. Most of their H2D's complexity is the head, which would imply most of the cost is the head. They're getting rid of the head, so they could, in my eyes, probably make it for the same price as an X1, maybe even slightly cheaper. Oh my God, I hate this. I actually hate this. Like, imagine if it was $900. I could see them doing it just to screw over everyone in the industry. Because now all of a sudden you go, oh yeah, I can have a Centauri carbon or something much bigger for double the price.
3 times the price. Yeah.
But still, like, you could have, well, actually, let
Luke,
me
that'd be disgusting
volume.
if it was 900. If Bambu releases this sub $1,000, it is confirmed that they're making their money doing something else. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we have to question where they're making their money from at that point. Yeah, the whole like 360 by 335 by 340, just geez.
The X1, just in volume. So let's ignore the improvements to the nozzle. Let's ignore the improvements anywhere else, like the heated chamber or anything. in
If it has it.
the H2 or the X2. If it has it, it will be stupid not to be fair. But let's ignore all of those features.
For
let's
50
just
bucks,
talk about
any printer gets a heated chamber, to be clear.
yeah, like let's just talk about effective cost versus volume, because I really do like, now actually part of the company's data that I did to justify the prices of our machines was you can plot every machine, their price versus their volume, and you actually get these two lovely distinct bands, where the ones that go vertical, where you get a lot of volume for not a lot of price, they're the budgets. They are the consumer budget grade, and the ones that are very expensive for the volume, they're industrial. And what we saw is Bambu Lab are towing this middle line. They have made this new line, and we put ourselves on that line. Prusa's Core 1 is on that line. Their XL is on that line, and so are all the Centauris now are on that line. All the volume to price is now shifted to this middle, more 45-degree angle. The X1 versus the X2. Do you know how much volumetric size you gain going to the X2?
It's like 3 or 4x, isn't it?
2.4x. So it's almost 3x the size for 3 times the price of a Centauri if it was at 900 to 1,000 bucks.
Call it 1,500, so now it's 5 times the price of a Centauri.
That is still disastrously close to the value proposition of a Centauri.
Yep.
That you go, well, it's bigger, I gain more things, and the cost per millimeter is roughly the same.
I would argue that more hot ends, more better. But if you need build volume, you're kind of there.
There's only 3 printers on the market with similar build volumes, which is the Prusa XL, the Construct One XL, and now the H2D, or soon to be the X2.
K2 Plus, SV08. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the price is gonna depend on how like kind of excited I am about it. If it is sub $1,000, I will commit right now to buying one.
Like, if it's sub $1,000, I think most of the industry is going to take a step back and just go, "Oh God, we can't compete."
Yeah.
Because you can't, like, literally $1,000. A Core 1 costs more.
Well, okay, comparing it to a Core 1's just you're dealing with Chinese manufacturing costs and Prusa manufacturing costs.
But that's what customers care about. They don't care about where it comes from half the time.
I know. It's like 4x.
X2, it's 3x.
3x on the money?
Well, it's 2.76. Now remember, volumetrically, it's going to logarithmically fall off. So, but still, 2.7x.
It's bigger by 100 millimeters in XY minimum, and bigger by 70 millimeters in Z.
Goodwill with which company you go with only goes so far when your competition is giving you features you cannot get otherwise.
Do you believe, though, that this new machine, which we're going to coin the X2 Pro, do we believe that this new machine is going to bring more people into the industry? Or do you believe that it is more focused at the print farmer?
I don't think it's aimed at either, personally. I don't think it's going to bring anyone new to the industry more than they already are, because that's what the A1 series is for. The A1 is the welcome to the industry printer, and then the P1 is the welcome to the square printer, whereas the H series and the X2 series are more of the you're already in this and now you have a reason to buy bigger and better. It could be for the professional hobbyist. It could be for the print farmer. My gut feel is it's probably more of an internal conversion instead of bringing new people in. I don't see it bringing, let's say, an architect. I don't see an architect going to go, "Ooh, I can get an X2 Pro" when the P1 series exists, because they're either printing huge
or small. Yeah, there's no in between for architecture. Yeah, there's no in between.
There's no middle ground.
It's so true. And the architecture parts we've done.
I don't think they're gonna be enticed with the X2 or the H2D. Most people who bought a H2D or an X2 already own a printer. They already know what they want. They either want bigger for a bigger project, or they just want a new machine, and it just so happened that was there. Like, it's not a new person. So I don't think it's going to convert. I as in like bring in new people. I think it's going to convert local to the industry into more of their ecosystem.
Yeah, if this machine is under 1250 US.
It's going to be tight. It's gonna shake the bedrock of what is already a very unstable foundation to the industry. Like Bambu Lab came along and they already shook everything with their price points, and they're doing it again. They can aggressively take over what will be the industrial market with that printer. The industrial market does not want small machines. They want big machines. They always do. Anything above 300 is industrial in terms of the output. They don't care what the machine does as long as it's bigger than 300. At which point, I bet you I'm going to see in like a couple months' time after it comes out, we're going to be seeing X2s in places where we currently see nothing. Hell, I see loads of X1s in places where you would be really surprised to see.
They're cheap enough that as a business, for the businesses that don't often do additive that could benefit from it, under $3,000 is like a rounding error for a lot of them, right? Like, they don't care. They legitimately don't care. I ultimately say that we're going to see the future of what Bambu does. And I'm concerned with those businesses that have gotten them, that are doing things that are, you know, either NDA, oh God, I hope it's not ITAR, on the cloud and all of that. And as Bambu starts to tighten their grip, will we see people saying, nah, fam, I'm done with this. This is too much? Because so far, I think while there's been pushback from the community, we haven't seen a lot of people that currently own Bambu systems saying that this is too much. I'm selling my machines. I'm done. We see a lot of people that were never going to buy a Bambu saying this is too much, but you already decided too much happened a while ago. It's funny because like the hardware for me is not really the issue here. It's the firmware and the software and what level of control. And again, you know, like we talked about with the username UUIDs in the 3MF files, there are valid reasons for some of that, but there's also some legal implications if you're not playing by the rules. At what point does Bambu start to do more policing in the work, and how does that often affect their specifically business class clientele, which if it's not obvious to people, the H2D, while it is also kind of positioned toward the I only have room for one machine style maker, it is also very much a business class machine, and it is designed to go after part of that business class environment. Will the X2 Pro push into that, and where do we think that it's going to land? Or is it just going to be another machine on the price ladder of Bambu? Because if the X2 Pro is, let's say, $1,500 US, is an H2D for that extra nozzle, for that dual extruder, worth it for an extra $500? This is the trick that Bambu does, and it's that price ladder.
I mean, they're making a really nice price ladder. Every company, once they have a product stack, wants to be producing a price ladder.
It's the thing that
because if you go, oh, I can for 50 quid more get this, but then for another 50 quid, I can go back and get a much better version of the original. You do that ladder willingly. Eventually, you will find your actual maximum for what you're willing to pay. And this is also what Bambu Lab are doing. They have now got a product stack where for a few $100 more, you get a industrial class printer, whereas the one before it is still industrial class, but only has one nozzle. And then for a few $100 less, you get it slightly smaller. It's this very incremental, where is your actual limit going? And that is what they're great at.
And so this is where you could say they maintain the X1. They maintain the X1 carbon at, it normally hangs out around the $1,000 mark. I think it's around $1,250 right now just for tariffs. And that might also be the combo. Is that the X1 carbon combo that we have listed at $1,250, or is that just the X? Okay. That's
no, that's just the base.
Oh,
I made sure there's no combo.
I believe the base has been
combo.
always like 1,000 or 1,100. I could be wrong. I never followed the base because I get the combo. But
so the X1 is 1,000 GBP.
So let's look at if you maintain it. So you go from P1P to X1, difference between an X1 and an X2 Pro, unless you're space constrained, you'd be stupid not to do it.
That type of price ladder preys upon the fact that you don't want to have buyer's remorse. Yeah, you don't want to have buyer's remorse before you even bought the bloody machine. You want to buy the machine and feel good about it. And they're like, well, it's only 200 quid and I'd feel really bad if I didn't buy this one. That's how they get you.
And son of a gun, it works so well. We will see. This machine is likely going to set the new size standard. Personally, I kind of like the 256 size standard.
It does encompass the majority of print size.
I like it specifically because I can fit 4 of them on a 6 foot wide shelf. And if you go much larger than that, you can't. It's like the Centauri Carbon, I can fit 4 of them with 54 millimeters of clearance on a 6 foot shelf. And when I'm looking at taking up cubic space in my shop, have to look at what is the most efficient use of space. Now, maybe we go to +4s instead of Centauri Carbons. I don't know. Maybe you look at this new X2 Pro and say, oh, it might be worth the add-on. It might be worth the extra BS of, I have to keep it offline. I can never update it. Like all of these different things. Maybe that's worth it. I don't know. We have to see what the future holds. But certainly, I think we're both interested in this machine. More so, I don't know if either of us are like, we're going to buy one. I think we're more interested to see how it affects the industry as a whole, and specifically how it affects pricing of machines from other manufacturers.
Yeah.
See what the blowback is from all of this, right?
It's going to be really interesting because it also shows which companies are in the same mindset of they have to be worried about this. And
it will be curious to see how the K2 Plus is price adjusted to be associated to the X2 Pro or whatever this machine is. See, this is the kind of stuff that excites me, but also like worries the hell out of me. But only time will tell. Is there any final thoughts you got, Jacob?
Other than I think that this is going to really shake up the industry, I think we've covered everything. Like my gut feel is we don't know.
Of course we don't know.
Bambu Lab have
speculation at best.
No, as in like Bambu Lab have multiple times pulled the rug out from under us. Like our industry knowledge is what I like to think is the bedrock of our confidence. We know the industry so well, we can make these informed like decisions where we're like, this machine will not sell well, this machine will. And multiple times Bambu Lab have come out and just gone, nope, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
I have no idea how this machine is going to affect the industry, how it's going to affect competitors. Is it going to set a new standard of price that if you are not within like plus minus 300% of this price, then they're not going to consider you because they just go, well, that machine does it and it's this. Like, I don't know if it's going to latch on like that. And that is scary, but also so exciting because I love seeing the industry grow. The downside is I also see it growing away from builders. Like, we are going to see less new companies because the competition is now so much just sharper.
Yeah.
It's like we don't see new supermarkets showing up because the other ones have the market share. You cannot get market share if they have it all. Bambu Lab are doing the same. Like that grassroots, you can build a company and grow it from there. I think it's ended now, especially with how competitive Bambu Lab is. How the technology that is improving 3D printers has ended, and I will say that with confidence, because open source drove the innovation in the industry, and now open source is dead. If people say it's not, it is. It's just dead, died slowly. It died with a whimper. It died quietly. And because open source is dead, the developments in the printing world have ceased. All of the new ones we're seeing from like Orca Slicer are patents. They're patents that people are going, screw it, we're going to implement them anyway.
The
not
brick layers and stuff
ground
like that.
up development. Yeah. Like they're not developing anything new. They're just redesigning what already existed. And it's the same with machines.
The only hope that some of the small integrators have right now is Index to stay relevant because they used to be able to compete on price, right? You could certainly say that, oh, we're more affordable than this, we're more affordable than that. Companies like Bambu are carving their own path through the forest, right? They're deforesting in a straight line to the victory lane. You don't have to follow them, but you do have to do something different. Instead of following them directly through the forest, you could go down and find the river, go along the river and say, it is just around the river bend, and maybe, maybe you are Pocahontas, who knows? You could say, well, instead of doing it this way, we're going to do this instead. Look at the other innovations that are existing in the industry and say, how can I integrate this into my technology stack? Because I'm good. Do what you're good at. If you're good at building machines, build machines. If you're good at engineering hot ends, engineer hot ends. If you're good at building motion systems, build motion systems. Don't try to do everything. You're going to end up with a system that will run into problems. For any small business that is still paying attention, if you are not able to remain fluid, go with the flow, know how to take a punch, but more specifically, learn how to fill and fit into the gaps that exist. You have to solve problems. Don't provide solutions to problems that don't exist. I think that covers it. I really do.
I think that does. It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. It really would.
And this will kind of stand as our initial thoughts on it, and we'll be able to look back at it later and see how stupid we were.
I can't wait for 2 weeks' time. We are so wrong.
It's $300. No, I assume we got a month left before Bambu makes an official statement or an official announcement. We'll probably see 2 or 3 more leaks of this that show more information before Bambu makes an official announcement.
We'll
That's my
probably
thought.
see some form of leak from a shipping company that is like, oh, look at this box that has just shown up and they're shipping.
Leak. But
Leak.
putting big air quotes around leak.
But thank you for everyone for staying with us on this lovely little rant session about how we know absolutely nothing about the industry anymore, thanks to Bambu Lab ruining our entire industry knowledge. But for everyone out there, stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome.
At least now Lenovo is going to be happier that when you search X1 Carbon, you'll hopefully find more of the Lenovo laptop that carries the same name and less of a 3D printer. I can't imagine how many people that were looking for an X1 Carbon from Lenovo about 3D printing. They're like, what the hell is this crap? I'm looking at my core one and I don't know what's off my head. It's like 220 by 240 by 250 by 220 by 270.
250, 220, 270.
Yeah, I got it. Let's go. Shill level still activated.